All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us today. Today we'll be presenting Getting the Money Amazon Owes You with Robert and Lee from FBA Investigators. All right, we'll have a brief introduction here. About Webgility, we've worked with thousands of Amazon sellers. We are a member of Amazon's Developer Council. We were founded by an Amazon veteran, and we're the #1 automation software for Amazon sellers on QuickBooks and NetSuite. So your experts today, one will be Mr. Tyler from Webgility. He is our lead implementation manager. He's had 15 years experience in e-commerce and has worked with over 1,000 online sellers. FBA Investigators, our other guest here, they are Amazon sellers like you guys who want speedy action on FBA reimbursement claims. They've had years of dealing with Amazon that taught them how to do this effectively. There's no need to go through all the hoops and loops to get paid. You will receive bi-weekly Amazon reimbursements guaranteed. All right, again, a little bit more about Lee. He's a former banking analyst, 10 years in consumer goods. Robert has 20 years in consumer goods and is 7 years plus Amazon seller. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick it over to them. Oh, sorry about that. All right, Robert, it's all you.
And Lee is here?
Yeah, I'm here as well. Sarah, what you did there kicked me off. Let me get this back into can I get the screensaver to turn the slides?
Sorry about that. Let's fix this.
I think Lee was controlling the slides and
Oh. There we go.
Is my screen up?
We can see the slide deck.
Let's see the deck. You don't see it in the full screen?
No, I do see it in the full screen.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thanks for having us. Let me pop these slides back to where we started. Yeah, so thanks for having us. We're excited to be here. As you stated, I'm a former banker in another lifetime, given that I've done more than a decade of e-commerce and retail experience since. But this business is near and dear to my heart because as a seller, the most important thing ultimately is the nuts and bolts of how your business runs, and that's directly tied into the profitability of your business. And the application that we've come up with for FBA Investigators speaks directly to profitability and making sure that you're getting back exactly, every dollar that Amazon owes you. Robert, do you want to give a little bit of brief background on your sort of retail experience and how you got here?
Yeah, sure. But I've been consumer goods like 20 plus years now, as time flies, and I had met Lee in the consumer world. At one point our paths crossed in the trade shows of China, as things often do, and my consumer goods, I was heavily into the e-commerce space with Google AdWords and that whole world, pop-ups, and as formed a team, to support our consumer goods company. As that evolved, it evolved towards Amazon. About, I think I've had an account for 8 or 9 years, but kind of heavily into it for the last 7 years. And what I've kind of witnessed on my side is always, the effort to be profitable is always a challenge when you're dealing with hard goods. And so, 2.5 years ago, we kind of came up with this idea to be more efficient. Our dev team, thought that this is a product we could build, and I brought Lee into the business to wear the banking hat, and the two of us have been, aggressively chasing after Amazon refunds since then. So that's kind of my background.
Yeah. So I guess to kick this thing off, we thought it would be interesting to take a poll for the folks that are listening as to how you manage your current refund challenges. Are you doing it yourself? Do you hire an outside company? Or are you just not even aware that it's something that you should be doing? If everybody who's listening could take a couple of seconds to help do this, that will help, I think, with the Q&A as we go along. And don't be shy. We've seen all sorts of answers to this. We've seen people that are not aware of it. We've seen people that are doing a poor job of it. We've seen people that are doing a good job of it. So it's better to be honest and try and solve the problem than hide from it. Why is it so important to keep all your profits? Why would that be important? Ultimately, the only reason you start a business is to make money. So it's important to try and maximize the time that you are spending trying to make the most amount of money. Rather than going into the weeds on how we actually refund dollars from people, when Webgility asked us to speak today, we decided to talk about some of the mechanics of what's involved in a seller and all the different aspects of ways they can better maximize their business, and how that ties into our FBA business or FBA investigators business should become apparent as we go along. But rather than getting into the real weeds of it, we're going to gloss over some of that. But if anybody has any specific questions, feel free to bring them up in the Q&A. So focus on profits is pretty straightforward. We've highlighted it a couple of times already. What happens when you don't focus on profits? Obviously, you're not going to make as much, and you're just not focused in the right direction. And if you're not focused in the right direction, sometimes things happen and people take it from you. So being aware of what's going on around you is certainly very important. There is no more competitive business than e-selling on Amazon. And the less profit you have, the less you have to reinvest in your business, which ultimately becomes problematic for you because Amazon is always changing and you've always got to be morphing with the times. If you think about how Amazon works, Amazon is aligned with your business because you're selling things on their platform and they ultimately are only as successful as you are. But if you're selling something on Amazon, Amazon makes money on that, whether you make money or not. So in theory, you all are aligned with Amazon, but ultimately Amazon is really responsible to their shareholders, not to you as a seller. So if you lose money on a sale, Amazon still gets paid. So you need to focus on how you make money, because if you don't, Amazon certainly is not in the business of making sure you make money. They'd like you to because they want you to stick on the platform, but that is not their main objective. So we've got another poll question we'd like to ask everybody. And this is going to, again, kind of tie into some of the Q&A and a little bit later on in the talk. But how often do you turn your inventory? And by that is, how much inventory are you buying? How much are you sitting on? How quickly do you sell through it and have to reorder it? Is it every 3 months? Is it 3 to 6, 6 to 9, or 9+ months? So we'll get to why that's relevant in a second, but just think about that. And we expect, if you have multiple SKUs, that some will be faster than others. But at the end of the day, you're trying to increase the velocity of your product in and out of your warehouse or the Amazon warehouse, because that's how you make the most money. So now we're going to get into the meat and bones of how we think we can help sellers. There are 5 tips to improve your long-term margin. Robert, you want to kind of take it from here for a bit?
Yeah, sure. Slide one, as we have here, is you want to speed up your selling. Um, if you take a look at some of the big successful retail businesses, and we can all, as Amazon sellers, look at ourselves as a retail business unto ourselves. Some days we may feel quite unlike a Sears or a Walmart or what have you. But if you get the same lessons that you look at from them, and if you look at, why was Sears successful? Because they were one of the first ones in the catalog business that had just-in-time inventory. They weren't putting in their money into products and then waiting to sell them. They were all over the countries, and everyone was getting their catalogs, but they didn't have a warehouse full of goods. As orders came in, they would do just in time, and that's how Sears came to dominate. When Walmart came on to dominate, it wasn't because they were better than Kmart. They had kind of the same offerings. It's because they invested billions of dollars into a computer system that allowed them to have, shelves that were stocked up just in time. Created the modern flow of goods from Asia into the retail store, and did it very, very efficiently, rotating their dollars. And if you look at Amazon, the brilliance of Bezos was, rather than him go to a bank and ask him for a lot of money so he can buy a lot of inventory and put it on his website, he's got 1 million bankers, and that's you and I who are his bankers. We're the ones who are putting inventory in there, and we are funding he's the richest man in the world, but we are funding his company by putting it in. So those three examples of people who came to dominate the marketplace, we can take those lessons and apply it to our business, which is speed up, your selling process. And in that, model yourself after a Walmart, the way they would shorten their turnaround time in bringing goods in as much as possible. Any unnecessary steps. If you are, bringing goods, you're on the East Coast, you're bringing in goods, it's taking another 10 days to get across to the East Coast, and then you're turning it around and getting it out to Amazon, consider bringing it into the West Coast. And if there's a 3PL out on the West Coast that could turn it around better. In certain scenarios, I air freight goods in, where I know, okay, it's going to cost me $1 a unit, but you know what? I'm going to have these units 45 days sooner. I'm going to sell them, and then I'm going to have profit from them, 45 days earlier, and that will more than make up for the dollar I'm spending on this. So, any way you can streamline this, that's just all profits. It's a penny saved is a penny earned, and so anytime you can minimize your shipping costs, take something out of the process, you're winning. So that's on streamlining that. So I see the slide, Lee, turned over to tip 2.
Yes.
Okay, I can speak to this one as well if that makes sense. I mean, profitability, more and more, there's what I've been finding in my seller account, because in addition to doing FBA investigators, I have my own, kind of $1 million plus Amazon account. And what I've been finding more and more is that by doing bundling, by doing upsells and cross sells, Amazon is being more and more flexible in allowing these things to occur. You'll generally see when you go through your Seller Central that the average order is 1.2 pieces on a daily basis. People are not always getting multiples. So it's kind of incumbent upon us to how do we get that average ticket up? And there's, and our answer has been bundling. So we are doing 2 packs, 3 packs, 5 packs. So the way that's increasing your profitability is your average ticket's going up, and your average cost to your Amazon fulfillment fees are going down, because for them to fulfill 3 of an item, is oftentimes darn near what it is to fulfill 1 of that item. So I would encourage everyone out there, when we're focusing on profits, which is what we're all in the game for, bundle larger units, cross-selling, multiples. It's really been great for me, and I think that'll help your bottom line as well. So Yeah, no, this one, it hurts my heart just looking at this slide, slow moving items. We've all been there where you were like, oh, this is the one, this is the product. I love this product, so everyone out there is going to love it. And for whatever reason, everyone out there doesn't love it. And you have goods and they're sitting in your warehouse, or worse yet, they're sitting in FBA collecting dust. And you paid $8 a unit for it, and you thought you could sell it for $29, and then you would make $10 a unit. But sometimes it really is just not to be. From a personal standpoint, it's hard to take that item and then just blow it out sell it for $5 a unit, sell it for $10, sell it for whatever you have to sell it for. But sometimes, the emotion gets in the way, like what you saw for that product, whether it was your fault or not, or whether it was you had bad photos or you got bad reviews, or whether it was other people moved into the space. There's lots of reasons why we launch products and they just don't work. But if you had 1,000 units at $8 a piece, having them sit there and accruing storage fees, it's just not doing your business any good. Blow that out. Get $5,000. Get whatever you can for those goods, and move on. Eat what you have to eat, and then you take that $5,000, and you invest in new photography for the next item. You invest that money in more inventory. But you have to separate yourself from the emotion, because you're going to have a better business because of it. So, and then, wherever you can cut the fat, even if it's, well, I'm going to have lower sales if I eliminate this item. From what we've seen, you're a better company for it. So that's where we are on slow moving items.
So let me jump back in here and reiterate what Robert was saying about slow moving items. We see oftentimes people sitting on quite a bit of inventory within the number of SKUs that they carry. And as Robert was saying, you're trying to get the velocity of your inventory turns up, because as you're turning inventory, you need less money in inventory to be managing your business, which frees that money up to do lots of different things. It could be that you take it as a distribution, or you could be reinvesting it back into your business. Leads us to our next question, which is the next poll question, which is the third of the poll questions. And once dollars have been identified as recoverable, what percentage of those dollars in your business are you actually recovering from Amazon? Now, that could be that the business that you've hired is helping you collect those dollars. It could be you doing it. Or if you remember in the last poll question, maybe you're not doing it at all, in which case it's zero.
Yeah. We can probably speak to some of these poll questions now, Lee, if you want, because we see the answer here that there's a lot of because I think the poll questions are disappearing as we go on to them. And the first poll question was, 40% of the people are doing it themselves. 43% are not sure if they should be doing it. And then there's just quite a few people. It was very few people. Oh, there you go. You're back to it. They hire an outside company, 14%, and that kind of, if you're doing it yourself, that's great. There's things to certainly catch there. I think that can always be improved, because I know when I was doing it myself without the assistance of an API, there was lots that I was missing. And working with a company like us, or we can run the API and we can identify every single case. The computers are just going to get it where we're not going to get it. So I would, encourage all of you to try some sort of a service if you're currently doing it yourself, and see how you're doing. Well, I found accounts who are doing a great job. I found quite small accounts, large accounts, who they're collecting a good bit of their refunds. But if you find that that's taking away time you should be marketing or doing something else, you could also consider using something like this. And then you got 43%. Should I even be doing this? You should. When I first ran my API, I found $18,000, and I was a combination of shocked and embarrassed that I wasn't doing a good enough job myself. And I'm sitting here developing the software. So you absolutely should be doing this. You can give it a whirl yourself, but we've, in our experience, everyone who does the service is just it lets them spend so much time on what they should be focusing on, which is their overall profitability of their business, finding that next item and what have you. So.
Yeah, and another thing to think about, even if you've done it yourself and you've been doing a good job, or you think you're doing a good job, you can look back 18 months with your account within the Amazon system. So even if you've been doing a good job since, long before 18 months ago, you can still sign up for a service like ours. We'll run it free of charge and identify potentially monies that you left on the table that you either didn't see or weren't successful trying to reconcile with Amazon. We've learned a number of tips and tricks over the years, figuring out what does and doesn't work. We end up with about an 85% success rate of dollars that we identify as chaseable. So, and then we're going to take a fee out of that, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you end up, we're not seeing very many people that they're not better off having a service like ours or anybody else as a competitor actually doing the work for them. It's a tedious job, and it is something that is a learned skill. And if you're just putting the hat on every now and again and looking back into your system, to Robert's point, there's a very high probability you are missing dollars, either because they don't represent enough for you to feel like it's worth you chasing, or because you just overlooked them in the process of looking through all your sales. If you're turning over only a few dollars a month, and you can define that however you want, it's pretty easy to watch the sales that come through. If all you're doing is selling mattresses and you sell 15 a month, that's not that difficult to track because mattresses don't get lost and you don't have a tremendous number of sales. But if you sell something that fits in the palm of your hand or is, fits in a bag, and you sell, 15,000 or 1,500 or 150 sales a month, it starts to get much more complicated for you to reconcile every nickel and penny. And the API does that automatically for us. So we have found that it is far more efficient to let the computer do it. And then once the computer identifies it, our human interaction takes place, and that's how we interface with Amazon. We decided not to get into the weeds too much about Amazon, but it is important, I think, to delineate here or to differentiate here. You may not submit cases to Amazon electronically by way of a computer. It has to be done person to person. So if you are working with a service, you want to make sure that that service is doing that. That will run afoul of Amazon if you are not doing it person to person. All right, Robert, you want to jump back into keeping them buying?
Sure thing. Yeah, so I mean, as far as ultimately sales velocity is what we are all here for. So as far as staying involved with your customers, what I've kind of found in my business right now, it is getting more and more competitive, and we're having to do a lot more to keep that turnover going at the same velocity it was, 18 months ago. So, I mean, you have to try to deploy, and this will ultimately go to profitability, is that your sales velocity remains at the pace you need to go out. Is you constantly redesigning your business. You are doing off Amazon advertising. You are doing Facebook. You are doing Instagram. You have a landing page, whether or not you sell on that landing page, to kind of do some brand building. We have always deployed for our products an individual web page that lends itself to, quite often people want to jump off and go look at the web page and then come back and buy from Amazon. We think it's more important than ever to do that, because you also have the algorithm change in the second quarter of this year, where they're weighing heavily on items that perhaps don't have the conversion rate that they'd like to see. They weighted heavily against ones that don't have 4+ reviews. So there's a lot of headwinds. So keep them buying. Get out there with all different forms. Twitter, I mean, you name it. It's an order here and an order there, and it's going to go to the profitability of your business, rotate your inventory faster, more profits, grow your business.
So this is, so tip 5 is to watch out for losses of goods and damaged items. This really kind of gets into the heart of what FBA investigators can do for your seller central account. In our experience, we have found that unrefunded reimbursements can make up to 2% of your overall turnover. If you are running a 20% margin, that 2% can represent as much as 10% of your total profits. Of that 10%, we have a 25% fee of any dollars that we physically collect. So we get paid after you get paid. So in the case like this, where 2% of gross sales represents 10% of your total profit, after you paid us our 25%, you'd still have earned 7.5% more EBITDA, or basically signing up for a service and turning us or our API and our team loose, or someone else in the space loose, to try and improve the profitability of your business. And I don't know where you could find, on the high side, 7.5% more EBITDA for something that really is about a 5-minute sign up. This business is applicable to big businesses, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, sophisticated businesses, simple businesses. Virtually every seller on the Amazon platform has a problem with this. And at the end of the day, our service is free. If we don't find any issues, you're not charged anything. There's no monthly fees. We don't hit you for anything other than dollars that are actually physically refunded and in your checking account is when we get paid. And if there's not anything there, then it just sits idle, if you will. We run the API on a regular basis, so we monitor it for you. You don't need to worry about whether or not you're getting refunds. It's just being taken care of. If anybody's interested, based on this webinar, we've created a coupon code, Webgility, and that coupon code is going to qualify you when you sign up for the service for a free audit. You can take that audit. It'll be very detailed. We have a dashboard that you can look at once you sign up. You can download the materials that we send to you that, again, are all for free. And you can go out theoretically and try and do the refund yourself. We don't recommend it because you probably won't be as successful as we are, just based on our experience. But we understand that some people like to try it themselves, and we're willing to let you do that. We think our service stands up and is a good value, and we would welcome anybody with any questions to reach out to us. And we're here at any time. We're going to kick this back to the folks at Webgility to talk a little bit about Webgility, but a couple slides from now, we're going to give out our email. You can contact Robert and I directly, or go to our website at www.fbainvestigators.com. The sign up is pretty straightforward, but if you have any problems, email us, and either Robert or myself or our tech team would be more than happy to help you figure it out.
Yep, we appreciate the time and gratitude to Webgility, who we use in our business, and we look forward to talking to you all.
Hey guys, thanks. My name's Tyler. I am the head of the implementation team here at Webgility. So to talk a little bit about what our software does, we may actually be stepping a little bit on each other's toes a little bit, but what we do is we connect to the Amazon API, we download orders, we download expenses and fees, we download the returns, and we automate it, posting it into QuickBooks via our desktop app. We have also recently added the ability to forecast your inventory for when you need to purchase based on lead times, as well as the ability to sync your inventory for your merchant fulfilled side. So what you're seeing here is our automation tool. This runs on the background of your computer. The idea is once you're set up with the software, you really only have to check in with it every so often to see that it's still automating everything and you aren't getting any errors, that sort of thing. Let's see. So in talking a little bit more about the settlement reports and returns, we do have the ability to download expenses and fees from Amazon. We generally will post orders and the revenue there in what's called a clearing account in your accounting system. And we are able to then post the expenses and fees against what you've collected in the clearing account, paid to Amazon as a vendor in QuickBooks or as a journal entry in systems like NetSuite. And we do have views that allow you to verify whether individual fees have been posted. We can get as high level, do it all as one big transaction, or as low level where you can do individual fee line items per order. So that you can see where all the individual fees are going. This also dovetails in with our returns section, which allows you to, see returns from Amazon. Now, with the FBA returns, we do see whether or not Amazon has added it back into your inventory, and working with multiple inventory locations, we're able to then add it back into your inventory in your accounting system as well. One moment. There we go. But that's pretty much all I have from my end. I think this slide might be slightly out of order. It should have been after you guys. Let me get to the next one. But this would, beyond just Amazon, we also connect to many other e-commerce channels, and we basically automate all the back-end work of getting your orders and expenses and fees into QuickBooks so that you have to spend less time doing that. It is, right now we connect to QuickBooks, NetSuite, QuickBooks, we connect to all the different desktop versions, so Pro Premier, Enterprise, and Point of Sale. We also connect to QuickBooks Online and NetSuite for cloud-based businesses, as well as Xero. And that brings us to like a Q&A. We've been taking questions as we've been going. I think some of these might be for you guys and less from my end. But we have Robert and Lee, do you guys want to get into the weeds with what customers are asking in the questions area, or do you guys generally get commonly asked questions as well?
I got kicked out when you picked up this slide, Tyler, so I don't see the questions. Can you read the questions aloud and we just kind of go through them?
Yeah, we have a customer saying that they're currently losing money because what they've sent to Amazon isn't being measured correctly. And so Amazon is charging them more for the storage fees for holding that item, as well, probably for shipping it out as well. They want to know how that they can approach Amazon to get the money they're owed back, and if that's something that you guys do.
Robert, you want to field it, or
yeah,
would you like me to? Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, we don't have an automated system for that, but it's something we very much have been doing for our clients on kind of an ad hoc basis. Basically, it's a frustrating thing because Amazon, they really won't refund you shipments that have already gone out, storage fees that have already been processed. So I've discovered items where I'm paying an extra $1 per unit, and you know, you shipped 1,500 units last month, and that's just it's kind of lost money. But I would just implore everyone to just correct the problems as soon as they come up. And if you need our help, you know, email me, Robert or FBI Investigators. I can put you on with one of our team members, and we can assist you with it. But what Amazon will tell you is that, you know, it feels somewhat disingenuous sometimes, but they'll tell you, well, since there's multiple sellers on this account, somebody has submitted the dimensions at a different one than you have, and that's why it's measuring larger, which a lot of times I'm the only one with the buy box, so how is that even possible? I'm the one who submitted it, but it just happens. They change, and it's somewhat of a, you know, a mystery. Another one that a lot of people get caught on, which they don't realize, is, so say you put an item on the scale and it's, you know, 1.6 pounds. Sometimes people just put, when they're filling out the spec sheets on Amazon, okay, it's 2 pounds, because they're thinking in their head, you know what, UPS round up, FedEx round up, so I'll just round it to 2. It's easier to write that than 1.6. You need to write in the exact amount whenever you can, because what Amazon does is they put a 10% load on anything that comes in, because they're accounting for the master carton that they're going to have to probably put it into. And so if it's, say you put, 2 instead of 1.6 on your spec sheet, it's going to then go to 2.2 pounds, which will kick you up to getting charged $3 a unit. So I found some in my system where I just made rounding numbers and didn't account for that. So I'd encourage everyone to account for that. And then as far as getting your money back, prior money you probably won't. Fix what you can as soon as you can, because every day you're losing dollars. And email me if I can help at all.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot from my end as well, where Amazon, basically, if it's a product where you weren't the original manufacturer and somebody else has sold it before, they kind of take an amalgam of everybody who's ever sold it. So you'll see that with photos, the sizes, the weights, even the description of the product when you actually go to buy it on Amazon.
Well, and they're also, Amazon is going to chase the higher weights because, I mean, they want to make sure they don't end up eating the cost of the difference. So they're going to always think, I mean, if you think about it, again, back to the earlier poll questions, Amazon is aligned with you as a business, because if you don't sell something, they don't have a business. But at the same time, they're in the business of making their stockholders money, not making you money. So if you or someone in your product category have rounded up, they're going to make sure that they don't eat extra shipping costs, even if it's to the detriment of you. And it's on you to be tracking that on a regular basis and looking at it. And the only way to do it currently is to just manually do it, which is pretty tedious. But as Robert said, we're more than happy to help you if you've got questions. My email is lee@fbainvestigators.com. You can either email Robert or myself, or just our info@fbainvestigators.com off of our website, and someone will be more than happy to help you. We got any other questions, Tyler?
The same person had a follow-up of wanting to get in touch with you guys, and you kind of already did that. So feel free to email them with any questions related to contesting Amazon a bit. We do have somebody asking what you guys' rates were again. So what are the rates to recover the unpaid or the reimbursements?
It's 25% of dollars that are physically refunded. So, there are some different there's some different people running different prices. It's important to understand that ours is only after you've refunded, after you've received it. So if we're not successful, we get paid $0.
I think that's all the questions that we've gotten. Does anybody have any questions about the automation aspects for the Webgility side? Nothing? Okay. I'm going to jump around on the slides a little bit just so that they see you guys' contact information a bit. Let me go back. So again, for contacting FBA investigators, it's fbainvestigators.com. They are on Facebook. Both Robert and Lee's emails are on the screen right now, so take note of it if you would like to get in touch with them. We have a couple questions that are popping in while I pop that up. We have a person that's worried about being suspended for pressing these recovery services with Amazon. Have you guys ever experienced that happening with any of your clients?
We have not experienced issues. It is definitely something to think about. You need to understand how to stay in the lane that Amazon is defining. I mentioned earlier the comment about making sure that it's a person-to-person when you're interacting with Amazon rather than sending it by way of a computer or an automated system. That's a huge no-no. We're certainly not going to do that. Given that we've been doing this as long as we have, we know We know exactly how to push and how not to push. It's a nuanced thing. Amazon will give you the money back when you're owed it. Sometimes you just have to ask nicely, and sometimes you have to ask nicely 3, 4, 5 times. And we've figured out how to do that. But the short answer to your question is we have not had a problem with it. And it is well within your right, within your Seller Central agreement with Amazon, to either dispute charges or to have a third party do it for you. So it is not in any way a concern for you getting black flagged in the system to have someone chasing refund for you.
Yeah, we have a big sign in the office. It says, "Do not poke the bear," and that's kind of our policy. It's Amazon, you have to do it in such a way, and that's, I think, one of the additional reasons that lends to a company like ours helping you out with this. We just know how to ask, and we know how to re-ask, and we've had 0 warning letters. I've seen warning letters from people who come to us saying, I got these warning letters, and I've seen people get suspended, and I've heard of other companies that do similar things to what we do that are not on the that have poked the bear. So rest assured, if you want to give me a call or send me an email and you want to do it yourself, I can give you some tips on how to do it yourself if you have the time to do that and not focus on marketing. Or if you want us to do it, rest assured, you're not gonna get kicked off. So.
Yeah, we get that question a fair amount as well from people who are trying to edge the system with Amazon, and my follow-up advice to that is make sure whatever you do, you stay within what Amazon has told you to do, because it's their platform. They mostly make the rules.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So follow-up questions for you guys. There's a couple here for my end, but I'm going to go through you guys' first. Does the size of revenue you generate on Amazon give you any pull as a customer? And do you guys know what these tier lists are?
Are you asking about getting refunds, or are you talking about just in general?
They didn't say that.
Having pull means.
So I guess like what we've seen over here at Webgility is Amazon definitely does do different tier levels, from like starting out on up to like power sellers that get invited to special conferences. I don't know what these actual tier cutoffs are beyond the power seller area. What you'll see is like people who are able to force Amazon to end a settlement period at any time and get reimbursed within 48 hours. Usually that's in the range of several thousand orders a month though. Below that, you're pretty much at Amazon's dictation for when you get paid. Beyond that, that's when they start contacting you so that you can actually sell to them on Vendor Central. But the tiers are kind of foggy. There's no cutoff.
Yeah, in general, I've seen those, 7, 8 years ago, you could have your own Amazon dedicated agent, assisting you with problems. And then that went to $1 million and then to $5 million, and who knows if you can get a dedicated agent now. Whatever those cutoffs are, they've grown tremendously in the last few years. So.
Okay, we have somebody asking, what size company is the service targeted to? Can you follow up with that? Do you mean the FBA investigator side or the Webgility side?
If they mean FBA investigators, we've helped everyone from people who do $1,000 a month to people who do $15 million a year. So we're apt to help everyone. And we've never run an account and found no money there. So we've helped people who we've got $200 back for, and they've been ecstatic. And then we have accounts that we've recovered more than $50,000 for to this point. Single refunds in the neighborhood of 15,000 plus. So we're here to help everyone. It's a community, and no one's too small and no one's too large for us to help.
Yeah, likewise.
As far as, and even if somebody is small, it just won't have a fee associated with it. If you don't have a lot of issues or you don't have a ton of sales, that's okay. it won't sit dormant on our site, but we won't have work to do. The API will still run, will still track and monitor your account. And if something pops up, you'll become aware of it. Otherwise, just know that it's running in the background for you all the time.
So you guys have an automated.
Yeah, and especially, well, yeah, sorry to overtalk you, Taylor. And even for smaller sellers, there's the initial clawback is 18 months. So even if, you're thinking, well, 2% of $1,000 a month or whatever you sell is not much, initially, a lot of people get a little pop in the beginning because it's 18 months worth of refunds. So small or large, generally even smaller accounts are happy. They get a few $100s or even maybe a few grand. And it's just more money for you to invest in your company. So everyone should take a shot.
So just for some clarification, from initial point where they start reaching out to you guys for help, it takes about 18 months to get anything back, or do people expect to get stuff sooner?
No. Yeah, no, that's a great topic. So when you sign up for the account, we generally within, depending if it's a weekend or not, you'll generally know in 24 to 72 hours how much money is out there to be recovered, how many cases, and how much value those cases are. So you'll know that quickly. We will then start submitting them immediately. We tend to try to stay to only 10 cases on a daily basis because, per Amazon's request and policy. So if you have 50 cases, we'll submit 10. We'll wait a couple of days. We'll submit another 10. So the initial money you're going to get back, you'll start to see money typically in 10 days. And generally, we'll clear out all your backlog within 30 to 45 days. Now, what I was referring to in 18 months is anything that that's how far back the API can run. So if 18 months ago, you shipped 36 pieces, but they only received 24 pieces, the API is going to see that. And then we can file that claim from 18 months ago. That's what I mean as far as going back 18 months. As far as when they'll start seeing dollars, I'd say, within 7 to 10 days, the entirety of the backlog should be cleared in 30 to 45 days. So.
Nice. So the 18 months is more like the Amazon equivalent of a statute of limitations.
Exactly.
Okay.
You got it. Exactly. So it's really, that just lends another thing to people that are doing it themselves at home. It's great, but you're unlikely to, the 12 units that you missed 18 months ago, you're unlikely to see that when you're doing your monthly reconciliation. So all the more reason to let us take a look under the hood. Put in the Webgility coupon code. We're doing it for free. We'll take a look and see what you might have missed. Or if you didn't miss much, you get a pat on the back to whoever in your company is handling it. So.
Okay, so I'm going to switch gears here because I've got a couple questions for our side. I have a customer asking if we do a trial, which unfortunately for our desktop software, we don't do a trial. We do, however, do a 30-day money-back guarantee. They also asked how long it takes to get implemented, and I'm kind of like the specialist there. So usually it varies depending on your complexity. If you're just connecting Amazon and you've got your accounting system in relatively good order, you can probably get it set up in less than 20 days with one of our dedicated implementation specialists. We move at your speed. So if you want to just do like 5 sessions once a day a week and get it completely dialed in, then it's totally possible. The idea is we want to have you guys, our potential customers, seeing the return on the investment with our software sooner. So if you want to deep dive into the Amazon channel after you get a subscription, let your implementation specialist know, and that's what they'll focus on. Let's see, back to you guys. Have some costing questions. Does it cost anything to start running the API? Again, this is a little bit vague as to which side that is. I know we've tossed that around a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, well, I would, there's nothing that it costs. Anyone who comes on and put in that coupon code or not, we will ask you for your credit card. You don't even need to put that in for all of our customers today. We'll do a free trial. So we're going to tell you exactly what you have coming to you within the next 24 to 72 hours. And no cost, no, but if you do want to use our services, then we will, take a credit card at that point. So.
Okay. Follow-up question from one of our other people who was asking a few before. When a refund does come in, is it very obvious what it's attributed to, and how do you make sure it's applied correctly?
That I would say is our strength versus some other people that are in this business. Other people that are in this business, they maybe just will send you literally like a Google Doc, spreadsheet, and they'll just have line items with reference numbers on it and dollar amounts. Our dashboard is, and you can go to our website, there's a sample dashboard there. You see, each case, you see the products that are in dispute in that case, you see a photograph of the product, you see the reason for it. Was it a return? Was it a damaged item? Was it an inbound shipment that didn't get accounted for? It's all, each single case is itemized. And then when we invoice you at the end of the month, all the reference numbers are there, photo of the item, outcome, how many dollars were we trying to get you, how many did we end up getting you. We even show you the ones that we tried to get you and we were denied on. So it's 100% transparency into what's going on.
Okay. Well, looks like we've gotten through all the questions that piled up, and as soon as I say that, of course, a couple more come in. So one final one before we kind of close out the webinar. Do you guys handle compliance charges for non-FBA sellers?
What do you mean? Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
Trying to follow the question. Complaint charges?
It says, do you handle compliance charges for non-FBA sellers?
Oh, compliance charges for non-FBAs. Oh, from like I'm not sure if they mean like an FBM sort of compliance issue, or if they're selling Vendor Central.
Yeah, it would have to be. It's probably Seller Central as FBM. Or I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean
Go ahead.
We don't have a lot of services in regards to we have no services for Vendor Central, and for FBM sellers we have a limited things that we do for them. We don't really go after, if there was a compliance fee, we don't really go after that. We're happy to. Our team is getting better and better, and anyone on this webinar, we're happy to help, because we're very grateful for you being on here and for all of this. But no,
they clarified that
deal with.
They clarified that it was Vendor Central, so unfortunately it doesn't look like you guys have the connection there yet. But who knows, future.
It doesn't actually work.
Yeah.
What we do doesn't work on Vendor Central because of the way Vendor Central is set up.
Oh, because of the EDI complaints. That's probably what they're talking about.
Yeah, those issues are a space that we're looking to maybe participate in at some point, but right now we're strictly on the Seller Central end of things.
Sure,
there is,
Amazon is trying to push people out of Vendor Central into Seller Central as sort of a company policy. And the reason for that is when it's on Vendor Central, delivery of that product and it's on it, it's in their inventory, versus the sellers, which we alluded to earlier in the conversation or in the webinar, that we're all acting as Amazon's bankers. So if you're on the Seller Central platform, Amazon's not carrying that inventory. So it's a much better deal for them to have people be sellers than vendors.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing. The Webgility software does connect to Vendor Central, so while we can't handle your compliance charges there, we can help you stay EDI compliant with the Vendor Central process. So I'm gonna call it for the questions. So one more time, back to the FBA Investigators screen. Again, you can reach the FBA Investigators at fbainvestigators.com. They're also available on Facebook. Robert and Lee's email are their first name at fbainvestigators.com. For the Webgility side, if you want to talk to us about Amazon automation or anything other services we can provide for you, give us a call. It's going to be 877-753-5373, or shoot us an email with what your pain points are with Amazon, and we'll be happy to talk to you. It's going to be hello@webgility.com. So I think that's going to be about the wrap up for the webinar today. If anybody has any last minute questions, you can submit them in the chat and we will be able to answer them via email after we end today. I want to thank everybody for your attending, and special thanks to Robert and Lee for joining us today. Sarah, do you want to close it out for me?
Yeah, thank you so much for everybody who attended. If you missed anything throughout this webinar, you didn't get a chance to write down a phone number or an email, we will send this out after the fact. So don't worry, you didn't miss it. And thank you again.
Thanks for having us on.
Of course, thank you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.